Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining on this somewhat grey Tuesday afternoon in the UK. My name's Charles Drayson. I'm going to hand you over shortly to Mark Settle, who's based in our Atlanta office. I've worked with Mark for some years now. What I will say about Mark is obviously he speaks today from Legito, but I know from experience he's had experience in a range of other automation products and with a range of organizations. And I've seen Mark work with a number of organizations in different contexts. So what you're going to hear is obviously what's new in Legito. But Mark particularly brings to this an ability to see how organizations really use this stuff in practice. So I encourage you to reach out to us with any questions because Mark is a fountain of knowledge on these things. We've enabled the YouTube chat. You can submit questions that way. You can also send questions to us through LinkedIn. So Mark is going to speak for a while. He's going to tell us what's new, and then we're going to save questions till the end. We'll allow enough time for that. But should we not get through all the questions, or should you find there's anything you want to ask us about separately, send us an email and we'll reach out to you after the seminar. So good morning to those in the US. Good afternoon to the UK. We've got a wide range of people here, and welcome, Mark.
All right. Thank you very much, Charles. I appreciate that introduction, and good morning and good afternoon to everyone. I'm very excited to present to you today a little bit about what's new in Legito recently. Before we do that, I'm going to go through just a few slides for those who are new to Legito. We want you to know a little bit about us, who we are. And while we're not going to do an overall overview of the product in the demonstration, much of demonstrating what's new, you'll see a good bit of what the product is, which is excellent. So a little bit about us. We started in 2014. We were started by a lawyer who is also a technologist. He was building documents and thought there's got to be a better way to do this. Built some smart documents, started to share that with some other folks, and it really caught fire, started a business. And today we've got customers in over 50 countries. You can see we're used by Fortune 500 companies. We're throughout the world. And so we are very excited about the growth of our product and how Legito is meeting our customers' needs. Everything we do really centers around what we call our Smart Document Workspace. And this is foundational around smart document drafting and the ability to manage those documents, both through workflow, sharing them with customers, being able to approve and sign documents, tracking your deadlines, negotiating contracts, managing the cases or transactions that you might be working with, and even seeing an audit trail around that. So as you look at the product demonstration we'll show today, we're going to show some of those new features we've added on. But as a part of that, you will see me create some documents from templates. You will see me manage some of those workflow processes and even go through an e-signature process as well. So our Smart Document Workspace is all about helping you manage and build your contracts or your documents in a smart way. It allows you to build the logic and have the compliance that you need and reduce errors and have a document solution that will help you manage that document creation process for your business in an effective way. So I want to give a couple of slides on what I'm going to cover today, and then we'll get into a product demonstration and actually show each of these features. Dashboard customization is the most recently released large feature that we have. So we'll spend a good amount of time at that first. So when you log into Legito today, you might have noticed the dashboard. If you've been a customer, the dashboard changed in January to our new customizable dashboard feature. This allows you to customize your dashboard individually or for your team. So you can roll out dashboards to everyone, or you can have some of your own private dashboards. In that dashboard, you can set up different rows and widgets and formats to have the content on that dashboard that you want to see. So you can have drop areas for uploading documents or signing documents. You can view even custom Legito objects that we released last year, where you can create custom objects to manage your business with the document creation. You can view those now in your dashboard and take action on them. You can filter to specific template lists. So if you've got a large number of templates, you've got different template groups. Well, on different dashboards, you might choose to show different lists of templates so that if I'm an HR employee and I log in and I get an HR dashboard, I might see only the templates that apply to me. And I can even view a Kanban view of my favorite workflows right there on my dashboard to give me a little bit more of a project view within those dashboards. We're going to take a look at that in just a few minutes. Exciting changes and even more exciting things coming to those dashboards as we move forward. Other recently released new features. We have our new document editor edition. So we released that brand new document editor. We covered that in a webinar back in November. We're going to talk a little bit more about that today, but some new features that have been added into that document editor. First is our new outline view. So you've got an outline view in the navigation panel on the left-hand side that, especially for large documents, really facilitates jumping around to different sections in the document in an effective and efficient way. We've also got full width elements for forms. So if you are choosing to build a template that has a form with it, you can now have those form elements, the input elements, be wider and change some of the look and feel of that form compared to the input fields that are in line with document content. So it really facilitates a nicer, cleaner looking form. We've enhanced our warnings. We talked a little bit about that back in November, but we continue to add and improve to that. And we have new workflow triggers that are based on those warnings to allow you to do a little bit more of an automatic workflow process that might change. Maybe you need to submit a document for approval only if the contract value is over X amount of dollars, or kick it back or fail a workflow stage if for some reason they cause a specific error that makes the document invalid. So these new workflow triggers give you additional options to run that workflow the way you need to within your business. We added editing of attached Microsoft documents. Now, this is a limited beta release, so you won't see this in your workspace without requesting access to it. We will be pushing that out broader across all workspaces and worldwide in the future. But at the moment, it is a limited release, but we'll demonstrate that today. That means if I attach a document to a document record, or I upload a Word document or an Excel document as a document record in Legito, I can now open up those documents and actually open them in Word Online or Excel Online inside of the Legito application. So no need to download it, make changes, and re-upload it. You'll actually be able to make those changes right inside of Legito. We'll show that today. Exciting new feature. Opens up a lot of options for how you might work with the documents that don't come from your templates within the system. We've added a counter property that can be associated to documents or objects. That's really an identifier that you can create around those objects to control some numbering around that. We've added a new ruler in the template editor. We've improved numbering. That was back in the October release, but I think worth mentioning and how that's impacted things. We've added some additional notifications to the system as well to let you further control how and when you're getting notified by different events inside of the system. And then we've also added Adobe Sign integration. So that functions just like the DocuSign integration. You'll simply set it up for signature with the same placeholders that you do for DocuSign, but now you can use Adobe Sign if you happen to be an Adobe Sign customer. All right, so those are some of the features that have been released. We're going to go through the majority of these in demonstration today. And so let me hop over to my, we'll hop over to my browser. Let me make sure we're on. I'm going to use two different browsers today. I'm going to use Google Chrome, and I'm going to be in the same workspace in both those browsers. But in Google Chrome, I'm going to be logged in as myself. I'm an administrator on this workspace, so I see everything, and I'll be able to configure things like the dashboards that we're going to look at here in just a moment. And then I'm also going to be logged into Edge as a user who is not an admin, so that you can see a little bit about how they might access those dashboards and different things that they would see. So I am logged into a demonstration workspace here that I have created. We're going to suppose this is just Legito. I'm working at Legito, and maybe I'm a small business starting in the United States, and I really just want to manage some of my vendor relationships and the contracts that I make with them, as well as employment contracts and NDAs and other things that I might execute with my employees. So I've set up a workspace that has basically just 3 templates. I've got a duplicate NDA. I'll explain that in a little bit of why there are 2 NDAs templates here you see below. But I've got a contractor agreement for contracts with my vendors. I've got an employment contract for my employees, and I've got an NDA for my vendors as well. So I can see on this main page the dashboard view. So this is the default dashboard that you would see for any brand new workspace. This is an unchanged from what the default behavior is in Legito. When you log in now, if you haven't made any changes to customize your dashboard, you'll see recent documents, a document record drop area. So this is a new widget that allows you to drag a document in to this drop area or click create document record. And and create a document record from a document that's not created in Legito. So that would be like an external document that somebody sends me. I want to add it into the system. We'll show using that in a little bit when we look at the Word attachment updates as well. Down below that, I see my templates. And then down, if I scroll down a little bit more, I see ready for signature. This will show me documents that are either in the signing process or awaiting the signing process. Likewise, I've got a drop area for signing documents. And so if I've got a prepared PDF with the placeholders for Legito, I can actually just drag and drop that PDF here, and it will kick off the DocuSign or Adobe Sign process for you. And then I've got a timeline view down below. So these are all widgets that are available in the dashboards. Now, let me show you here. I've actually created a few additional dashboards. So at the top here, because I've got multiple dashboards, I've got a drop-down list here that will let me select from those dashboards. And as an administrator as well, I also see create new dashboard. I've got 5 dashboards. You can see I've got a default dashboard, a project view, an employees dashboard view, an admin dashboard, and then my dashboard, maybe one that's just private to me. This admin and my dashboard, because I'm an administrator, I've made those private to me, so I'm the only one who accesses those. But all users will see these top 3 dashboards. So let me show you a couple of changes, and you'll see some of these different widgets. So if I go to project view, I get a very different look. So maybe I want to see a very specific workflow that I work with in a Kanban view. So rather than seeing a list of recent documents, I'm now seeing all the documents in that process. So I can see the ones that are executed, the ones that are waiting for signature. I can see the ones in management approval. If they are, able to move along in stages, I can actually drag and drop between those stages as I move along in this Kanban view, or I can edit the document directly from here. So if I want to go look at this contract agreement for Purple Places, I can just click edit and go see that document. We'll come back to that. I'm going to close that. Down below that, I might see my list of templates. And then here you can see in this workspace, because we're working with vendors and we're working with employees, we've got custom objects for vendors and employees created. And the reason I want to point that out is custom objects give you a lot of flexibility for how you might choose to work. So maybe I want to kind of use those as a starting point. There are nice APIs around these objects as well. So in your Legito implementation, we don't expect that this is going to be your employee management system, right? In some cases, it may be useful to manage some of the data with those objects, but we have APIs around those objects as well. So that if you've got your HR employee database and you simply want to link it up and pull data for all of your employees into a custom object and only pull some specific data, you can set up a process to do that and utilize the Legito API to push that data into these custom objects. So that then when you're in Legito, you could see and search for an employee and even associate documents with them within the Legito system. So I've got some employees here. You can see if I click on an employee and expand his record, I can see, the details that are being stored about this employee in the system, their title, their office location, some address and contact information, their start date. But I can even see here as well, I've got a contract that's associated with Chris Green here. And I can click on that and it'll actually launch that document record. And you can see this is a contract that's been completed, is read-only, and it's got the attached signed PDF files for that employment contract and the non-compete agreement, the confidentiality agreement, all attached. So this dashboard gives me a nice quick way rather than having to navigate to a separate site to view these object records. Now they're available on my dashboard and I can customize my homepage to see things the way that I want to see them. So for example, my third view here is an employee's dashboard. So maybe I'm in HR and the only thing I really care about is creating employment contracts and working with the employee records. Well, in this dashboard, that's what I'm seeing. I see employee records at the top, my employment contract template down below. So I'm filtered to the employee, the employee templates. And so if I've got one or more templates that are needed for employees, I can filter down to that. And maybe I need to attach documents from time to time. And so I've got a completely different dashboard, maybe for those working with just employee data and employee templates, and they're not concerned about vendor management. So I can change those default views for my users that log in. Now let's look at how that customization works. I can customize my dashboard here. If I say customize dashboard, you can see some things change here. I can add rows, and then there are different format types for rows. If I want a full width row, or if I want a 50-50 split, or kind of a 1/3, 2/3 split, or I can even get 3 columns. and I can get a broader, probably 75-25 split there. And so I can choose these different formats of how I want to display this row. So let's say I want to add a row of recent documents with a document signing drop area. So we'll just use this format here. And you can see by adding that row, I can select a widget. So let's do a documents. We'll do a grid. And then you can see here, I can choose some different options. If I want to show 10 documents rather than just 5, I can name this whatever I want. If you leave it blank, it's going to show recent documents as the title. I'll just say my documents here. I can choose the type if I want grid, Kanban. So this is what type of widget, again, that I want. And let's go ahead and say create. And then I'll add that document widget here at the top. And then I can add a drop area. Let's say maybe I want to add this as a drop area to sign my documents for DocuSign. So we'll just leave it as that, say create. So that quickly, I've added a new row to this employee's dashboard, and then I can save this dashboard. And you can see here, I've got options. I could make this dashboard private to me. I could make it the default dashboard for everyone. But otherwise, if I'm done, I can just say finish. And now my employee's dashboard has all of those recent documents at the top. And if I don't want them, I can easily customize and just delete that row. Let's get it back how we had it. So you can see you've got a lot of flexibility with dashboards. Just to show you a quick view here, if I go over to my Edge browser, again, as a reminder here, I'm logged in as a different user. We'll call her Janet Smith. It's using one of my email aliases, but it's Janet Smith. She is just a user. She's not an admin. And so you can see here, she's on the default dashboard at the moment. Let's say she's in HR and she wants to work with employees. Well, Janet can go to the employees dashboard, and if she selects that, the next time she logs in, it will remember that selection. So she'll always start on this particular dashboard. Notice she doesn't see the other two, the admin and private dashboard that I created in my as my account. So she just has access to these 3 provided dashboards. And she'll only see the content that's applicable to her as well. So if you notice here, if we compared this to the project view for myself as an admin, I would see all documents, but Janet is only going to see her documents that she's created or that are shared with her in this Kanban view. So it really gives her a view into what she needs to do that day in the system when she logs in. So this Kanban view is great for people who are working only with a certain set of documents and a certain workflow. They really can have access and a nice view of everything they need to be working on in different stages. All right, so that is our new custom dashboards. In our coming soon after the demonstration today, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the additional things that are coming soon for the dashboards. There are quite a few exciting things, I think, coming for that as well to help you further have at your fingertips everything you want to do within your business and manage it in a smart way. So now let's talk a little bit about some of the other new features. The first one I want to do, we're going to kind of show some of these as we go along in a specific use case. So for those new to Legito, this will give you a nice example of creating a document and working through a bit of a workflow as well. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to say that Janet is going to create a contractor agreement for a vendor. So I'm going to go to my, let's just go to the default. Well, we can do it from right here. So we're going to create a new contractor agreement. And I've got a new vendor here called Yellow Submarine. You see I have my very creative color names. All of these have a color name scheme to them. But if I click on Yellow Submarine here, we can say, okay, I've got this new vendor. I need an NDA with this vendor so that I can start sharing information with them. And so I've got a vendor ID here, an address, a name, a website, some contact information. We could set up, you're not going to see it happen here today, but we could even set it up so that when I start this document, some of that data flows right into the document from this custom object. But we will link this document back into this vendor as part of our use case here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new NDA, and I'm going to create it for this particular customer. Actually, we'll do a contractor agreement. So let's say we need a contractor agreement for them. So we're going to go ahead and say contractor agreement. The reason I want to do that is I'm going to use it to show our new workflow triggers. So again, a couple of things about recently updated warnings. You can see right away I've got a warning that this field is required. And this field is set to not even allow me to save unless that field is answered. So if I try to save, I'm going to get an error. It won't even let me save until I answer this. So if I want to create a document record, I have to create a document with this field answered. So we'll go ahead and answer that. And now if I want to, I could actually save this document in draft stage. Let's go ahead and fill out some information. We're going to say this is Yellow Submarine Inc. And we'll just make up some information here. We'll say they were founded on 3/1/2008. And I'll just put in some number. We're not actually going to let that pull from a registry. Main Street. Now, I'm not going to fill out all of the information in this document. We will let this pull from the business registry for Legito. And we'll fill out building a data center. And we'll say this contract will be in effect until the end of April, and we'll make the contract amount $45,000 to start out. All right, so I'm not going to fill out the rest of this information. Here's another recently released feature, though. I do have some multiple choice options. Here's a question that I can also merge into a paragraph, a formatted list from that multiple choice. But let's go ahead and save this. Let's say we filled out and completed all of this contract for that particular agreement, and we want to move this into a review stage so that somebody else can look at it. I might even share this contract from the review stage out to an external party, let them see the document, make some comments, some updates. Maybe I share this with an internal user rather than going back and forth with this document. I'm just going to go ahead and save it, and maybe I send a note to Mark that Mark needs to edit this. So I'm going to save it and close it. It's in that review stage, and we'll go back to our Chrome browser here, and I'll go back to my default dashboard, and we can see here that now I've got that document. It's in the review stage. Maybe she just wants me to review that document, or she sends it to some other user that needs to make a change. So I can actually open up that document now. And let's say, okay, well, we've negotiated with them a little bit. We've gone back and forth. We're going to set this contract price at $55,000. And we're going to save this update. Now, notice right away that by doing that, it moved me into the management approval stage. So this is going to require an approval. So once I save this, it's going to let me appoint approvers now in this approver stage. So that happened because of our new automatic workflow triggers. So for those comfortable with workflows, let me show you a little bit about how that works. I'm going to leave this open rather than approving it. And we'll go back to our Legito settings. And we go into our specific workflow, open it up for edit. And you can see I've got a workflow that's just got 6 stages here. But you can see I can review and management approval. The flow from review to management approval has an automatic activation set on it. So this is the new workflow triggers. So if you look at this, it is set to automatically activate based on total value. So the total value tag is added to that contract value. And if the amount is greater than $50,000, then it's going to automatically trigger this flow from the review stage into the management approval stage, requiring approval. Now, as long as they're less than 50,000, they can actually move from the review stage right into ready for signature as far as this workflow goes. So if they wanted to, they can move it still manually into management approval, but they could skip it if it's less than $50,000. And so we've got these new triggers that will help you move those workflow stages along, including triggers such as if signing is canceled, document was signed, signing in process. Those were triggers that were there. But now you can move automatically if there's an export warning, or if there's not an export warning, or if there's a signing warning or there's not a signing warning. So these new warnings that allow you to warn and not let them export or sign a document based on some criteria, well, you can now have that same thing trigger a workflow step. So you can automatically move forward or kick it back, or based on the total value like we're seeing here. So exciting change in the workflow process to help you have some conditional workflow steps that are required of the user. So they don't really have an option. So I can't stop it from going into the management approval stage if I enter a total value greater than 50,000 because of this new workflow trigger. So that allows me to enforce certain criteria within my workflows in my business. All right, so we'll go back to our dashboard. So that's our new workflow triggers. So I think that's an exciting new feature, really help you with those workflows, and we'll continue to enhance and develop around that as well, I'm sure. So the next thing I want to show you is the ability to edit Word attachments. And so I've got to move into this demonstration does not, or demo workspace does not have that ability. So I'm going to move into a different workspace here. So this has got a default dashboard here, a larger number of templates and documents here. But what we're going to do here is I want to show you how this drop area works with a Word document that I have. So I've got a folder here. I've got a Word document here for ABC Company. It's an NDA. And so let's say they're sending me their document that they want me to use. And so this is just a Word document. I open this up in Word. You can see it's a non-disclosure document between ABC Company and XYZ Company or whomever we're going to do this with. This is just an output document that I'm grabbing to use. You can see it's a Word document, but it's not coming from my template. I've got to use this document for the client. They've asked me to use it. And so I want to store it in Legito. So I can go ahead and move this into Legito by just dragging and dropping to that drop area. So if we drag and drop, now I could use the upload on a specific document record and attach a file as well. But by doing that, you can see it automatically created a document record for me. So I've now got a document record that's in draft stage with that document attached. So the big change here for customers who have this feature enabled already, and if you're interested in beta testing this, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to have a discussion with it and enable and get your feedback. But you can see I've got an edit button. So in the past, you've always had an attached file. You could download it. You can add a new file. You could upload it. But for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint documents, now you'll see an edit button here. If I see that edit button, I can click edit. And that is going to launch a new tab inside of Legito, but with the Word online editor. So I'm editing that attached document to the document record. And I can make whatever changes I need to, and they'll be persisted with the document record. So I can highlight this. Let's just highlight this paragraph. We'll just make it really visible what we're changing. We'll just highlight all of that text. And it's automatically saved. I don't have to worry about saving and everything. It's automatically saved in this document. I've now made some changes, so I can just close this tab. So I close that tab, and I look at, well, I hit refresh. But if we look at our document record, I can edit this again, and I'll see those updates. I didn't have to close it. I could have just hit edit. And so I can see that's saved with this document. So the idea is now you have a lot of opportunity for collaboration on third-party documents or other documents that you upload in Legito that are not created from a Legito template. So of course, you don't have all the benefit of a Legito template controlling the logic and locking certain sections down and things like that. But you have all the benefits of Word and drafting a document. If you need to work with a Word document or an Excel document, you need to share it and make notes and add comments and make revisions. You can do all of that inside of the Legito system without having to download and re-upload that Word file. So very great use case for internal use, and even it can be attached to a document. So if you're sharing a document externally, that external user might even be able to click edit and edit that Word document that's attached. And so you can really open up some new possibilities for collaborating with these documents that don't come from your templates, which is part of everybody's business sometimes. You want to build templates and build in a smart way, but there are times when you've got to work with a third-party document, but you still want to do it in an effective way. So this really opens up some of those possibilities. Another nice new part of this feature that was released recently is versioning. So every time you upload one of these, there is a version created. And so you can see I uploaded it initially, and then I saved a new version. I can see each of those versions, and I can even view them. And so that gives me this ability to go back and look at prior versions as well if I need to. And you can see as well in this drop-down list that I can also upload a new version. So if for some reason somebody makes changes off-site in this Word document, and I want to upload it in as a new version of this same document, I can do that. I can upload a new version directly from my machine and attach it to this document record on that saved file. So that really opens up a lot. We're very excited about this feature and what it opens up for you as a business user of Legito. So you can have a process that you're using a template maybe to build a contract, but then you've got to attach some ancillary documents that come from a third party. It really facilitates your ability to edit those documents and work with them in an efficient way right within the document record. So that is editing Word documents. I did want to point out, if I go back to our other workspace with vendors and employees, if I go to my project view and I see my vendor and employees, you can see there was a nice identifier on this vendor. And it's just an automatic numbering scheme. but this automatic numbering is automatically being generated by a counter property that now can be added to document records or custom Legito objects. And so you can build this ID out in different ways. You can have it be a certain number of characters. You can append and prepend and add a suffix to that as well. You can have it reset on certain criteria as well. So maybe if you put a month and date as a part of the naming scheme, you want it to recycle at the beginning of each month to start the numbering over. So you can really have some flexibility for how you might build out an identifier on your custom objects. Of course, if you're linking up to another system and you're pulling that data, you might be pulling an identifier with it. But if you're managing that object inside of Legito, now you have an ability to create an identifier scheme that will be useful for you to make sure you've got unique identifiers within the system. All right. So just looking at that yellow submarine object, I do want to point out that when we created that contractor agreement as well, it automatically we got it associated back into this yellow submarine vendor. So we can see that contractor agreement associated directly with this. And so you have this ability to link things with custom objects. That's been out there for a while. You can create a property and a document record and really link a custom object together with that. And so here you can see I'm pulling those contractor agreements or the NDAs, whatever they may be. They are associated with these records automatically. So I think Purple Places also has a contract agreement. All right, so just a few more things I want to point out around the system. The first is I want to show, if we go to our default dashboard, the drop area for signing a document. So if I go to my project view, I think, oh no, I'm in project view. We'll go to the default dashboard. We've got a drop area for signing a document. I'm going to go back to my same folder here. I've got that same NDA that we uploaded as a Word format, but as a PDF format that's got my signature placeholders like I would put them in a Legito template. So it's got a Legito sign one placeholder in the signature line. So if I drag this PDF and drop it into the signed document, you can see that actually kicks off the signed documents process for me. So I can actually put in the signer and send this off via DocuSign. So this is going to go out for signature via DocuSign. Document sent to DocuSign successfully. I'm getting an email notification that that's been sent, and it's actually going to have the proper signing process here. And so just like the e-signature process in Legito that you can launch from a template, that drop area lets you have a signing process get kicked off from just dragging an external third-party document in. So it just needs to be a PDF, and as long as you have that placeholder there, it will kick it off, and it'll know where to put the signature lines, and it can go be signed and then pulled back into Legito with that standard DocuSign or Adobe Sign integration. We'll go ahead and leave that. All right, so two more items. We want to talk about improved numbering and notification. Sorry, we're going to talk about the ruler in our template editor and improved notifications in the system, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So template editing, we have added a new ruler element. So I'm just going to open up, we're going to go back to this one, and we're going to open up this NDA. So we'll open this up for edit. And you can see here that I have a ruler now at the top of the template editor. So this is a new feature. So with a ruler will allow me to control margins or tab indentation in the document. So I can control the whole document if I don't have anything selected. But if I select a specific element, then I can change its indentation or tabbing for that particular element. So the ruler lets me have some flexibility in how I manage margins and indentations around the document for the specific template, whether it's a specific clause or element or the entire document. So the ruler, not a lot to really demonstrate there. It's pretty standard functionality that you'd expect from a ruler as if you were working in Word, really just dragging and dropping and managing those indentations for the selected item that you have. So the ruler's great. Now, rather than this NDA, I want to open up, we'll just leave that with no changes. Go back to my initial, now I said I had two NDAs. I was going to talk about why I have that. I'm going to edit the second NDA. This one is using a form and a linked document template. I want to open up this form because I want to show you the other new feature, which is full width form fields. Here I've got a form, and I'm showing this in 2 different ways, just as an example. I've got a table with some values in the columns, and then I've got just some paragraph elements with a label and a text element. But if I click on this text element and go to design, you can see if I'm in a form, input elements will have this option to toggle on or off full width. So when I do that, that gives me this ability to see a nice looking form with full width fields. So you can see I'm using the table to get them side by side. And then without the table, you can see that full width goes to full width of the document. So you can see I've got a nice option to get a form with some nice input fields that's nice and pretty, right? So if you're in a document and you've got input fields in line with that document, you don't want it to go to the full width of the fields of the page, because it's maybe a few words that need to go in the middle of a paragraph. And so you don't want to disrupt that paragraph with a full width field. So if you want a nice full width field and you want this type of input, you can break out those fields into a form. And in that input form, you can have full width fields with nice padding for that data input, and then merge it into the document, of course. All right. The final 2 things that we want to show is new notifications. And then I realized that when we were filling out a document, I didn't click on the outline view, and I want you to see that inside of the document editor. So let's close this template. Let's go back to our dashboard. And I'm just going to open up, I should have one in draft stage. I've got an employment contract. So let's open up this employment contract for Grace Davis. This is a good one because it's got 3 documents, potentially 3 documents in it, if they choose to include the non-compete and the confidentiality agreement. So this document, you can see I've got both of those selected. So I've got 3 documents that are in this document. In our outline view, you can see this is partially completed, but in our smart navigation on the left-hand side, we've got a number of navigation items. We covered this in the webinar in November, but again, you can navigate to empty inputs. So if I click that, it'll take me to the first empty input. If there are warnings in the document, I'll get those warnings. I can move to my last edited element. I can even turn track changes on and off. But here is the new feature, our outline view. And I think this is extremely handy for large documents that you may be working with often. So the outline view is going to give you just what you expect, an outline view of the clauses. And so you can see here, I've got my employment contract, I've got my non-compete agreement, and then I've got my confidentiality agreement. So if I want to jump to the non-solicitation clause in the confidentiality agreement, I can click that and go right to it. I can click to any specific element and navigate to it in this outline. So rather than scrolling all over the document, if I'm filling it out, I can use the next empty input to really get to each of the input fields. But if I'm coming back later and I've filled everything out, but I need to look at some language in a certain location, this gives me a way to really navigate to those locations in a large document in a very fast and efficient way. So I'm very excited about that. And then the final feature is notifications. And not a lot to demonstrate here, but I do want to bring it onto the screen for those who are new, especially to Legito. In a user's settings, they can manage their notifications. Here in the notifications, I can set, how many days ahead of a deadline do I want to be notified? And then I have had in the past, I think there were about a dozen different notification types where I could set my in-app notification settings and my email notification settings. So for example, for document sharing, I might want to be notified when anybody shares any document that is, shared with me or my documents, but maybe I want it only for my documents. And then I can choose, okay, I only want the in-app notification. I don't want an email. So I can change that to never. So I can control how I, as a user, am notified by the system for various notification types. So now, rather than just those 10 or 12 notifications that we've added just about any type of an event that's going to happen inside of the system. You can control how you're going to get notified around that. So whether it's, a signature process was canceled or started, whether they completed signing a document, whether they've locked or unlocked document editing, whether they've shared a document externally, whether a confidential document has been touched, you can control a very large number of notifications within the system. And you can see some of them may default to never for your email, but then you can choose to turn on specific notifications that you want to see. So you've got a lot of control over how the system notifies you about actions that you need to take. All right. That's all of the things we wanted to demonstrate today. So I want to get back to my slideshow. And let's talk very quickly about, I stopped it, so let me start it back up. About some things that are coming soon, and then we'll get to questions and answers. So first of all, dashboard widgets. So we released our first version of dashboards, but we expect to do a lot more with that to help you be useful in your business, really get the data that you need at your fingertips when you log into Legito. And so the first of those things will be counters or filters that will go into the dashboards. And so you can see here in these screen captures some renderings of what we expect to do. Just these are some examples, but we expect to have some different layout and structure for these counters and different types. And so you can see things like, okay, well, how many documents are awaiting signature? And you can see they'll click through. So I'll see at a glance on my dashboard, I've got 27 documents awaiting signature. I can click through and see that full list. How many are waiting for a customer review? Click through and get to that. And so you'll be able to put these types of counter widgets on your system, and you'll also have access to filters. And so by creating the click through on these, you'll also be able to create some document list filters that you want. So rather than just seeing the numbers, maybe on my dashboard, I want to see all of the documents in a certain stage in a specific widget. I'll be able to do that as well. So you'll have some control over that. You'll also be able to have a template widget to show a single template. So that might allow a user I want to add my favorite template to my dashboard. That's the one I use all the time. So I don't have to go find it, search for it, whatever it may be. There's some ability to add a single template. And then Kanban for objects as well. So right now you've got documents that have a workflow stage associated with them, and you can see that Kanban view of that workflow. Today, objects don't have workflow associated with them. So that other thing that has to come soon for that to happen as well is we will be building the ability for objects, Legito objects, to have workflow stages associated with them. So that will open up a lot with those objects to manage different processes within your business. Object record sharing and permissions as well. So today, users either have access to a certain custom object type or not. And so they either see all of the employee objects like we saw in that workspace or none. We will change permissioning. It'll be just like a document record where you can permission each individual object record as well. So if you're working with employee records that you've created in your system and you want only a certain user to see that record, you can share it with them. We have some additional styling and formatting options. That's an important thing for us, where document assembly is a core piece of our business. And so continuing to improve the styling and formatting that we can do on those templates when they generate documents, we will continue to have focus there. We have a new Legito Sign e-signature process coming. So we have Adobe Sign integration. We've got DocuSign integration. We'll likely continue to integrate into other market-leading solutions, but we want to provide our own solution as well for e-signature that will just facilitate and simplify things for some of our users. And then we will have some new onboarding management to help our new users in the system kind of go through a checklist of things they need to set up and configure within the system. And then additional data analytics around the system will be coming soon as well. As we work on those counters and filters that you can add, we'll also be adding some additional analytics into the system to help you understand what's being used where within Legito for you. So I appreciate your time today. We'll go to Q&A next. For those who drop and don't stick around for Q&A, I very much appreciate your time and sticking around. We have a lot of exciting new features. We continue our rapid development of our application, and we'll, as you see as we move along here in 2022, we've got a lot of great things coming and many more to come that aren't on this list that will come later this year. So we're very excited to bring you useful new features. And I'll comment before we go into QA as well. We like to build these features from the customer feedback that we get. So if you have ideas, I'm using the system and I'm not sure why it doesn't do this, or I really wish it would do this, we want to hear that feedback. So feel free to reach out to us at helpdesk@legito.com or to your Legito rep or whomever it may be, and please provide that feature feedback. And we like to work that into our product roadmap and make sure we're delivering the features that you want within our system. So thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to Charles. Yeah.
Thank you. So Mark obviously had a lot to tell us about today. So we've we've had to use more of the seminar for the presentation than for Q&A than we normally would. It's probably worth pointing out that if that seemed like a whole mass of information coming and you're not familiar with the product, we do of course do a demo which takes you right back to basics, and I'm going to give Mark a question on that in a second, but do reach out to Mark for that demo. Mark, so there's a lot of content here, and it probably talks about the breadth of the things that are covered. But for those people who are maybe looking at this thinking, wow, that's quite a lot of stuff to assimilate, could you maybe give us just a quick picture of the typical journey that maybe an organization first starting with this, where they begin and gradually how they expand into using these things? Perhaps just a quick picture of that journey for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll do is if I come back to this workspace where I uploaded a document, a typical process so we looked at a lot of different things. We looked at custom objects and things to show off some of those new features. But a standard process for a user in Legito is you're going to take your documents, you're going to upload them and create a template. And the template is going to allow you to drive that document creation process that we saw today. So for example, the contractor agreement that we were completing, I've got a contractor agreement template. I would simply come in and click create, and I'm going to create a document from that contractor agreement. The template author builds this template that defines what questions get asked and what determines, what logic determines what comes out in that template. What I mean by that is a user is simply going to answer the questions. So they're going to come through and provide the answers to the specific questions in this document. Say this is me. I won't fill this all out, but you can see as I fill this out, things will change based on details that I provide. So if I choose company, I get different document content with different input questions that are provided by me. I can integrate into other systems to pull some of that data, and that's what this field is doing here, is it's actually gathering some business data. And as I scroll down through the meat of this agreement, you can see there's various logic and input fields that have been built into this agreement. But as a user, I'm seeing the document content and the input fields all together. So all I need to do is answer questions and save this document. So I would simply provide data for all of the questions, and I'm not going to answer them all, but we'll put in a term and an amount. We'll say 50,000. So it doesn't have that automatic trigger, so I can save this. And then I might move this through a workflow so that it can be approved. So maybe I've got to send this to an external client. Maybe I need to access, an internal user. I need to have somebody else take a look at it, or maybe it even needs to go to an approval. So here in this review stage, I can actually send it through an approval. So it's going to be a standard document workflow to create this document, get it signed and attached back into the system. And once that's done, if I navigate back here and refresh, we can see that contractor agreement will be available here. And I'll see a document record with it that I can view and access. And even if it's, once it's executed, I may even see the expiration date and a notification around that expiration, so I can manage that contract beyond just its initial creation, but also to know when it's going to expire, when I might need to take action on it.
Okay. And in that real world scenario where we don't get to use our own document, and somebody says you've got to sign our NDA, can you just clarify? Can you still use the workflow features to manage documents that maybe didn't start in Legito? Does that work just as easily with somebody else's document?
Yes, absolutely. So you can see here the NDA that I uploaded as an example document and edited in Word. You can see this is a document record and it has a workflow associated with it. So I can move it through the review stage and assign an approver who needs to review the document record. They would have to come in and approve this, and then I could move it into a signature process as well. So absolutely, an uploaded third-party document can follow a workflow. And you have kind of two different options even to do that. You can upload it the way we did here, or you could even have a Legito template that drives some gathering of metadata that you want to gather for even the third-party documents, and then they simply attach it to that template document record as well. And so you can then have a little bit different experience as well, where you can gather some additional metadata that you want to track within the system. So you've got a lot of flexibility with how you do that.
And quite a few of the people on the webinar today are in-house legal teams and in law firms. And if they're going to use this to collaborate, let's say just use the NDA as an example, so they're collaborating with us, the lawyer in another organization. How much can that external user sort of participate in Legito if they're not a Legito user themselves?
That's a great question. And for those who are on today, I'm going to show something, but I will recommend we did a CLM kind of focused webinar last July. That recording should still be out and available. So I'd highly encourage you to take a look at that, and you'll get a nice broader overview at tracking changes and sharing with an external party and all of that. But let's take this same document that we've got that's ready to be signed. Well, let's get a draft document, actually. I have one. We'll describe this loan agreement. This is some different document, but it's in draft stage here. I can actually share this to an external party. And by sharing this to an external party, I can send a link to that external user, and I've got complete control over what I give them access to. Do I give them access to the entire document? Do I give them access just to the current revision? Do I give them a permanent link that they can access as long as I've shared it with them? Or do they get a one-time use link where they can view or edit? And then I can change whether they can view or edit the document. And what I can do is I can actually send them that email link. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open an incognito window of my browser and paste that link as if that user clicked in their email. And you see they're accessing the exact same document record that I was accessing, but it's all they have access to. So they can't navigate to other documents in the system. They can't even see the document record. They only see the document itself. And because I gave them access to, they can come in and they can make their changes to this document and save it. And then I'll get a notification that they've made those changes. So you can share the full document with an external party. You can control what permissions they have. Can they edit? Can they download the document? You can lock that down. You can lock it down to view only permissions. So you've got a lot of control over how those external parties can access the document. And then we even have a track changes feature that will allow redlining to happen so that there can be accepting changes that are made by either the external party or the internal party.
Okay, I think just one more question. We want to be respectful of people's time, and maybe this is an unfair one as a last one, but could you, for those who are maybe new to Legito, can you just try and give a high-level view of what an object is? We've mentioned a few of the new features around objects, but just try and describe what that is about.
Absolutely. So a standard Legito workspace will have just templates, documents, and people in that workspace. And so you can create templates, you can group them together. User uses that template to create a document record, and they manage document records. And then users are, associated with, they're permissioned to different objects or templates or documents, whatever they may be. I'm sorry, to templates or documents, and they can even be grouped into user groups. So that's a standard workspace within Legito. And then you have the ability to create what we call Legito objects. A Legito object is a custom object record. So when we were looking at this employee record, it is a custom object record where you can create the properties for that record. So a custom object will have a number of properties that are completely defined within the administration of the system and relationships even to other objects or documents within Legito. And so here you can see this employee object. It has these properties: name, title, office, location, phone, email address, birth date, address, start date. And then it has a property assigned employee documents, which is a relationship back to document records. So for example, if I click on this employee document record, you can see it's got this employee relationship right here. So it's John Erickson. So I can relate objects to document records and other objects. So it really just gives you this ability to manage some additional data or information that you might use within Legito. And so it's useful for linking from another system, but you can also build out even a clause library, if you will. I might create an object that has certain text, and then I could select that text in my template to merge specific clauses into my document and have almost a custom clause library as well. So an object almost gives you a little bit of if you're familiar with SAP, like a mini SAP. It's very customizable to allow you to create these objects and use them within the application. but you certainly don't have to use them at all. Your primary purpose for Legito might be building and managing the document, and custom objects are not used by every user of Legito. They are just a possibility to help you take it further.
Thank you, Mark. Well, thank you for the presentation. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We've had a large number of people sign up for today. I'm guessing some people know Legito are here to hear what's new. Some people are just getting a feel for how quickly it develops. If this has left you wanting to hear more, then we encourage you to sign up for a trial. There are also quite a few articles online on the website, which might give you a taste for our approach to these things. Mark and his colleagues are also able to do personalized demos for you if you want to ask more specific questions or see something presented in the context of your organization. And you'll find also there's some pre-recorded case studies from some of our customers who have been kind enough to give their time to explain how they're going to be used. So, and they range from small to very large. So there's probably going to be something there to suit you. So thank you, everybody. It remains only for me to say goodbye and to say we look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.